All right, last thing I want to talk about here. We have talked all year long, and we're going to dive into it very heavy on Monday, obviously the day before the 53-man roster is officially announced. But last night was a really good look at who the Pittsburgh Steelers have, who they might choose to remove themselves from heading into the season. There's a couple of names here. We got to start with the big one, Kendrick Green, who by all accounts was gone. And the Steelers gave him opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to make this roster. And they finally said, screw it. We are out of guards. Go play guard. See how you do. And I got to say, just like you said, he looked good. And I don't, maybe good is a strong word. He didn't look bad. There were no points where it was noticeable that Kendrick Green was even on the field, unless he was creating a hole for a guy like Jaylen Warren. Do you think he earned a roster spot last night?
I don't even know if I want to say yes, but I think I'm tempted to say yes, but I still don't think so. One good game doesn't erase, a whole body of work.
Yeah.
I think you got to look at it all in its kind of totality, and the totality is not very good.
Totality's bad.
Yeah, so I think it's honestly a little bit concerning because does this make him more likely to get picked up? Like, if you wanted to keep him on the practice squad, does this make that less likely? I think it does. So I still think he ends.
Do you think
Go ahead.
it creates a trade scenario for him? You think it maybe put him on the map
Ooh,
for a little trade?
maybe. I mean, you're still not getting anything
Uh,
above what, like if you
look,
get a fifth rounder, you're over the moon,
that's a
right?
good
Like,
pick. That's a good pick.
yeah,
You can do a lot
yeah,
with
yeah.
fifth round pick over losing a guy that you just tossed onto waivers,
I was gonna say, well, if Isaiah Simmons is going for a seventh rounder, I don't know what.
Yeah, I don't, but that one doesn't count. Like that one, the Arizona Cardinals were just like, all right, we're just going to get rid of everybody we could possibly get rid of right now, and we'll just start over next season. That one, I don't know. I don't know. I agree with you. I don't know if you're getting a fifth. I think that might be the best. But even if you could get, like, if you could get anything for the guy, like, to ship him somewhere in the NFC, why not? Why not just sounds good? Because I agree with you. I don't think that. I don't know. I don't think that he. I think one good night, cool. I think Kevin Dotson's injury plays a huge role into all this.
Yeah.
But I don't know how significant that injury is. He's been hurting all summer. That's the thing that stands out to me is like, and Kevin Dotson's dealt with injuries in the past that have shut him down for a year. So like, if Kevin Dotson's going to miss a huge chunk of time, maybe he's the. Do you think there's any possibility that they cut Dotson to keep Kendrick just because of health concerns?
Oh no, I don't think so. I
Okay.
mean, look, if they were off of Dotson, I feel like they would have gotten like these injury concerns aren't new, like you said. I don't know if that was a reason why you would. I mean, that would be the reason why you're getting off Dotson, right? Like you're
Yeah.
not. Yeah, so I mean, you would have done that already. I feel like, especially after adding Herbig. I think that's the other thing. Like, do we know how? Because Herbig didn't play last night either, right?
No, he talked to Alan Saunders, I believe, last week and said that he feels good, was hoping to play, but there was a really small chance that he does. I think by week 1, like it's optimistic that he's back or like right on the verge of being back. I've heard multiple weeks, but I heard that like 2 weeks ago. So,
That's multiple weeks.
That's what I'm saying. Like we're pretty close to the multiple week mark for a shoulder injury. Guy who's been working at practice, like not in teams, but with the trainers and stuff. You could see him kind of ramping up.
And we still got 2 weeks until
the regular season. I agree though. I think that I don't know. I still think Kendrick Green's a guy that possibly you could sneak through waivers. Feel really good about if you do. If nobody's willing to take a shot on this guy, cool. If somebody is, enjoy him. Enjoy him. Have fun. A couple other names. Zach Gentry is a name that we talked about. You weren't totally sold that he was gone. I got to say, after last night, he did have a good block with the third team. But the fact that Darnell Washington played with the first team for 2 games in a row and was part of that trio that opened up a beautiful hole for Najee Harris, I just think that in that moment, you kind of just, in my eyes, I saw it as somewhat of a parting with Zach Gentry. There's just no need to keep this guy around.
Yeah, and I think I said this on the last show, but I just didn't know if there was really anything Zach Gentry could do in this game that would have been,
Yeah.
unless, he caught 6 touchdowns for 100 yards. Like, it would have had to been really spectacular for him to show that he is different enough as a player and good enough and that much better than Darnell Washington to earn a roster spot. So I think he came in kind of fighting a losing battle. And yeah, and then he lost. So I mean,
Yeah.
he didn't do anything that completely opened my eyes, and I wasn't watching saying, especially on that good block that you mentioned, I wasn't saying, oh wow, I didn't know Zach Gentry could block. Like
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
like I knew that about him. So yeah, I don't think he'll make it either. He'll get picked up by someone. He's a good enough player too. But just won't be for the Steelers.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is time, and that stinks. You re-sign them, you feel good about the future, but it's one of those prime examples where free agency and the draft were switched around. He wouldn't be in Pittsburgh. He
Yeah.
would have spent the summer somewhere else because they would already had Darnell Washington, and the development of Darnell Washington should be very like it should have fans very excited and the Steelers
Mm,
very excited about how quickly this guy can adjust to an NFL roster. And Connor Hayward, like there's always the argument of, oh well, Connor Hayward's not really a tight end. I get that, but like last year, those were your 3 tight ends and you felt okay about it. This year, they could also be your 3 tight ends and you could feel okay about it. Like
yeah.
there's no need to keep 4 just because you want to utilize Connor Hayward elsewhere as well. Des Fitzpatrick, guy that we think was competing. I mean, Gunnar Olszewski's up there as well, but competing with Gunnar, competing with Miles Boykin, had an impressive night. Not sure. I want to say he obviously caught that punt at like the 2-yard line, which was
Yeah.
very impressive. Didn't catch a pass.
Targeted twice. Yeah. No catches.
Targeted twice, no catches. You look at this as a guy that might have snuck his way on there, or you think that he's still on the outside looking in? And if he is, who's on the inside looking out?
Yeah, I still think Gunner kind of has the inside track on that wide receiver race. I'm still not sold on Miles Boykin. I think Dez. Really like Dez. I think both as a receiver and obviously as a special teamer, like he showed
Yeah.
last night, that guy's NFL capable. But it's just way too crowded. And I think if you were thinking about keeping a 6th receiver, it's gonna be Boykin. It like has to be Boykin.
Yeah. Do you think they keep 5 or 6?
Hmm. Not having like a 53 man in front of me, I'm gonna have to lean 5, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe there's a chance that like Fitzpatrick sneaks through waivers and you can like I don't think Boykin would. Um, but I think you keep 5 just because there are so many other places that, and especially the way the offensive line, like if you have to put someone on like short term IR and like find room to manipulate the roster there, like you just can't. Like a 6 receiver is a luxury
Yeah.
roster spot, and the Steelers don't have that luxury right now.
Yeah. I kind of agree. I think that maybe you bring one up to put a guy like Nate Herbig or Kevin Dotson on IR, but like afterwards. But I don't think that either of them make the 53-man roster right now. I will say in my notes from last night, I do have early in the game, Gunner completely whiffed on a kick block and
Mhm.
like completely whiffed. And Anthony McFarland got blown up at the 20 and everybody was making a big deal about it. That was 100% on Gunner. Dude didn't
Oh,
even,
at the start of the game?
yeah,
I
yeah.
I don't know. Anthony probably shouldn't have brought that ball out anyway.
No, no, no. The one before that, it was he got stuffed at the. Oh no, no, it was
Yeah,
that one. It was
first
that
play of the
one. He
game, yeah.
shouldn't have. He shouldn't have brought that one. But he was probably told, just like Calvin, return everything. Don't.
Yeah.
So I would imagine that like it definitely miscommunication, but at the same time, Gunnar didn't look impressive. I still think he holds the upper hand. I think that you could find other ways to fill the hole of Boykin and Dez after what I saw last night, just because special teams did look so impressive as a whole
Yeah.
that I think right now you're just like, eh. But maybe, if there's an extra roster spot, I think that's the guys who get it. But for right now, yeah, I agree. I think Gunner's the guy. You could bounce Allen Robinson outside if you need to. You could probably use Gunner outside if you need to, but for the most part, there's no, it's not like Miles Boykin was a guy that was like playing contributing offensive minutes last year, and you were just
Right.
like, oh, okay, well, this guy, like, you need him to catch passes when Deontay's not. Like, no, you don't. You don't need either of those things to happen. Last one here for you, Miles Killebrew, who don't believe took a defensive snap last night. Don't even know if he played. I didn't even see him on the field. Coming off of a tip punt the week before, he is really good at that. You think that he makes the team?
I really want to say no. Like I've not been impressed by Miles Killebrew at all. But my gut says yes. Like my gut
Oh,
says that just that they still see a ton of special teams value in him.
yeah.
Um, and that's just irreplaceable in their minds, especially if we're thinking about maybe getting rid of Miles Boykin. There's just I think we talked about this on the last episode too. Like you can only get rid of so many of your really good special teamers before you start to notice a problem. I think
Yes.
even with the way things looked last night, I'm gonna lean. I don't feel great about it, but I am gonna lean towards Miles Killebrew does make the roster.
So I'm transitioning, I believe,
Wow.
to a no. I know, and I'll tell you why. I think that at this point, it is impossible to get rid of Elijah Riley and Chandon Sullivan. They both offer too much defensive value, and Elijah Riley is too good of a special teamer. And I think that allows you to feel comfortable removing Miles Killebrew. Elijah could pretty much be your fourth safety. Could be, I mean, the dude had this is 3 games in a row where Elijah Riley has stood out on special teams, had good special teams play. Chandon Sullivan is, I mean, even when he's not in coverage, the dude just bats balls at the line of scrimmage, so it's fine. You don't even have to do anything. And if Elijah Riley's rushing the edge, he's just going to get to the quarterback. So, like, who cares about a coverage nickelback?
Yeah.
You don't need one. You could keep both of those guys. You could feel comfortable about their contributions on defense more than you would feel about Miles Killebrew. And if they fell into a situation where they needed a safety, they're putting Elijah Riley out there before they put Miles Killebrew, in the regular season. That's just how that would work.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an excuse to get rid of Miles Killebrew. But I have to look at a 53-man roster. I think that if there's an extra spot there, they're going to fill it with special teams guys. I think Boykin, and I think Killebrew has the upper hand in that race, but over Boykin. But I think that those two and maybe Des Fitzpatrick would be the names that they say, oh, okay, well, we'll add you as our last guy because, we need special teams guys. But I think Elijah Riley fills that void. And because I think Chandon won that battle, but I think Elijah is good enough to overhaul Killebrew.
Yeah, man, I love that. I think that's ideal. I think that would be the best solution for everyone. I don't know the Steelers necessarily feel that way, but that makes perfect sense to me. I think, you just want to reward guys who play well. Like you don't, like during the preseason, I feel uncomfortable just saying, oh, well, we know who Miles Killebrew is. We know what he's done in the past. I mean, like you said, the difference in special teams value versus Miles Killebrew and Elijah Riley is not, I don't think, big enough to warrant like, oh, Miles Killebrew slam dunk. Like we got to keep him.
Yep. I agree. Again, 53 on Monday, we'll have a better look at the 53 and depict it or take it apart piece by piece to come up with who the Steelers will be rocking with. But for right now, you look at those 4 names and you feel maybe there's some change coming to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Late additions, late removals. That final preseason game, like Mike Tomlin said, final exam. I mean, it was as good of one as you could possibly ask for the Pittsburgh Steelers.